Welcome to the very first video of the very first mission of Geo Challenge. This mission is titled Welcome to the World, and basically what this mission's about is we'll be trying to give you the tools to succeed in further missions as things get a little more complicated. The guiding question that we're going to ask and seek to find the answer to across this entire mission is, what fields of learning comprise social studies, and how does geography in particular aid us in understanding the various peoples and cultures around the world? This mission is made up of 2 chapters. Each chapter has 2 individual sections. So we'll begin with chapter 1. As mentioned previously, there are 5 fields of learning within the discipline of social studies. We learn about the world and its people by studying these 5 fields. That's geography, history, economics, government, and culture. Section 1 is going to be entitled The World at Your Fingertips. Section 2, Many Regions, Many Cultures. So let's take a look at Section 1. As mentioned previously, social studies includes information from the 5 fields of learning. The idea is to provide you with a well-rounded picture of the world and its people. So here's our essential question for this lesson. What are the 5 fields of learning that comprise or make up social studies? Well, before we get into that, here's why this is important. It's important to understand one another and where we are coming from, as people come from different cultures, different racial backgrounds, etc. It's essential to understanding those people in order to get along with them. Knowledge of other societies is the key to understanding them. In class yesterday, if you're viewing this video on time, we discussed the idea of Afghanistan and the U.S. invasion of Afghanistan. We had discussed it previously during civics. Afghanistan is a region of the world that has 0 experience with freedom or democracy. So going in and understanding that about their culture, that they have 0 experience with democracy, would be imperative to design in any plans in order for us to go in and change their way of thinking. It was going to be a long haul. So those in positions of power who were making those decisions probably discussed and needed to understand that. That's why this is important. Knowledge of other cultures, however, has increased with advances in communication, such as the internet, transportation, high-speed aircraft, airplanes all over the world, international trade, and immigration. Think about Facebook. You can instant message someone clear across the globe. That's never been so in all our history. It's instant and it's pretty much free. And access is only growing. In fact, there's an initiative by Facebook and other companies to expand their reach into societies that have not always had internet access. So hopefully we'll see global cooperation grow as time goes on and technology expands. So let's get into our fields here. The 5 fields of learning. Social studies draws on geography, what we're talking about now, history, economics, government, and culture. History is simply a record of the past. Now, why is history important? It's dead and gone, right? Not exactly. The past helps to shape the present. Geography is the study of people, places, and the environment. There are 5 themes of geography, which I will not get into now as they are part of chapter 2. But just know the definition of geography. Government. How countries govern. Every country has laws. In fact, that's the definition of a government. It is the lawmaking body and the enforcement arm of a nation. And every country has difference in ways that they choose to govern themselves. Even if the difference is subtle, we're different from Canada, we're also different from Britain, etc. So just because we share under the common banner of democracy, we still have different ways of going about and governing, which we learned about in civics. There are limited and unlimited governments. Hope you remember this from civics. In a limited government, everyone obeys the laws, including the rulers. However, if government is unlimited, the rulers have absolute authority over everyone and everything. Another example of that would be totalitarianism. Citizenship. Hopefully this is another definition that you remember from civics. Citizen is simply a legal member of a country with rights and duties. There are two ways to achieve citizenship in this country. Born in the nation. If you're born in this country, you're automatically a citizen. We talked extensively about that. And naturalization. The naturalization process of you immigrate to the country and then you work to become a citizen. Economics. Economics is simply the study of resources and the study of how people manage those resources. The key definition that I want you to understand is the concept of scarcity. Scarcity is what gives your money value, what gives gold value. Any commodity that's limited, it creates value. Why? Because there is a constant conflict between humanity's unlimited desires and their limited resources to obtain those desires. There are generally three types of resources. Natural resources, which are the gifts of nature. Forest, oil, any sort of mineral or precious metal that has to be mined from the earth, coal. Those are all gifts of nature or natural resources. There's human resources, usually commonly referred to as labor, which is simply production skills. The ability to produce something from natural resources and create capital, which is goods and services that are produced and sold. And generally, economies fall into one of two categories. They're going to be a command economy, or they're going to be a market economy. And we learned a lot about that right before we got done with civics. But command economy, the government decides prices, etc., what and how much to produce. Supply and demand is controlled by the government in a command economy. In a market economy, companies use consumers to determine prices and production. That's the law of supply and demand. The U.S. can be classified as a market economy, even though, as we talked about, we're kind of a mixed system. We would qualify as a market economy for our purposes here. Let's talk about levels of development. You've probably heard the term developing nation or undeveloped country or developed nation on the news. Countries that have high levels of economic development generally have an education system, a healthcare system, a decent level of employment, essential services, and access to technology. In contrast, countries that have low levels of economic development will generally have poor essential services such as running water, sanitary conditions, things of that nature, generally low employment, a low literacy rate, and it usually follows that there is a low life expectancy. And moving on to culture. Culture is simply ways of living. Shared beliefs, customs, laws, art, etc. Culture traits are things such as style of dress, language, things that people specifically share inside a culture. That should give you all the basic information that you need for section 1. Come back here for section 2. Don't forget to do the quiz down at the bottom of the form. Thanks for watching.